More JeffreeStar drama, you guys, as he is not too happy with the canceled podcast episode that recently was released. He's faced a lot of backlash with what he said on that episode, as he certainly made a lot of statements. But since it's come out, Jeffree has gone on live and he's spoken out on his thoughts on the episode, talking about how Tana spoke over him, and he wanted to comment on some more things that happened while they were recording. So we are going to spill on all that has been said by Jeffree. When JeffreeStar recently went on the canceled podcast, people were not too happy with Brooke and Tana's decision to have him on. Though it's the canceled podcast and having on canceled guests would make sense, it really isn't the look that people thought was best for them so closely after Brooke's recent scandal where her past tweets were uncovered. They also just felt like, given Jeffree's past and everything, it wasn't the move to have him on, but I feel like since Trisha was having Jeffree on her podcast, Tana and Brooke probably thought that it was all good. But since the episode, people have been holding Jeffree accountable for his words, especially when he was talking about Trisha Paytas and Dramageddon and everything that went down at that time. But Jeffree seems rather unbothered by all that's been said. At least that's how he was trying to seem when he was on live the other day, saying that he loves the fact that the episode has gotten people riled up.
If you guys didn't know, the canceled podcast featuring me has officially hit the internet and people are freaking out. I love it.
Something Jeffree didn't love, though, was that people said that he was talking over the girls in the podcast, but he was like, no. It was actually Tana talking over me on the podcast, and called her out for this when he was on live reacting to the podcast episode so he could clear some things up.
I guess Shane's cancellation, he ended up having another one later, right? And like the cat stuff.
Do you guys like how when I wasn't even done speaking, she was already asking another question? Because there's a lot of people in her video that are saying that I'm over talking her. But a lot of the time when I'm speaking, I don't even get to finish. Am I hearing it back correctly or am I wrong? And it's only because she's very hyper and she has ADHD. I'm not judging her. I live for her, actually. Obviously, I wouldn't have done it. I don't ever do podcasts anymore. And I love Tana. But listening to it now that it's edited, I'm like, girl, let me speak. But then her, if you read her comments on their YouTube page, it's like, Jeffree never lets you guys speak. Oh. Okay, are we listening to the same thing, or is the delusion at an all-time high? But you know what? I don't care, because my brain works with hers because of the way I'm structured, and I understood her perfectly. So I'm actually not complaining. But listening back, it is kind of funny.
Jeffree then wanted to address the comments saying that he didn't take any accountability for Dramageddon while on the podcast, because he brought up how Tati claimed in 2020 that Shane and Jeffree were in her ear trying to get her to make Bye Sister, and that they were working on a documentary to expose James Charles, which we do know this to be true because James, in his video that he posted after Bye Sister, he literally shows a text message from Jeffree to him saying that alleged victims were about to get on camera and talk about him. And why would they be doing that if, like Jeffree is just recording them for fun? Obviously, they were going to do something with that footage. And this was the reason Tati was so down to post Bye Sister, because Shane and Jeffree had this coming out that was essentially going to back up her claims of what she was saying about James, and they were all going to take down this predator, James Charles. But Jeffree and Shane decided not to go there with their documentary, and I believe Tati was pissed that she was taking all of this heat for making Bye Sister and trying to come after James Charles, because if you remember, after James had posted that video, there was a period of time where people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they tried to come down on James Charles. So Tati was taking all of the heat of trying to cancel James Charles alone. And so when she made that video in 2020, she wanted everybody to know it wasn't just me that was plotting against James Charles. Jeffree and Shane were also plotting against him. But Jeffree, on live reacting to the podcast, he was still saying that him and Shane had nothing to do with Bye Sister.
So there's people in her comment section saying that I didn't take accountability for that time. But I think the major issue is that there's nothing to take accountability for, because me and Shane didn't manipulate anybody. Me and Shane didn't get anybody to make any video. And 5 years later, on my dead father, that's the fact. I had no part in it. So my question to them was, in 2020, so after the conspiracy palette came out, November 19, in 2020, in the summer, when Tati uploaded that second video, America was just in shambles. And for some reason, they wanted me to be the villain again, because I didn't coerce her to do anything. And me and Shane had no part of it. We were living our rock star lives and our fantasies and living on the conspiracy moment. I was opening up Morphe stores all over America. I am just curious as to why 5 years ago anyone believed her second video. That was my question. Isn't that bizarre? Like, what? Why would anyone actually believe that? We manipulated a 45-year-old? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And in that time, we were in the pandemic, we were locked indoors, everyone was angry. And this woman uploaded a second video, which is why they're asking me all these questions, right? We're talking about Tati, when Tati Westbrook uploaded her second video. Why did anyone actually believe it? That was my question to these ladies.
Now, I don't think that she was manipulated into making by Sister, but I think that she really felt supported in making it because she felt that Shane and Jeffree were having conversations with her about everything and that, you know, they were on her side. They were also working on something that they were going to put out about James, and they were talking to alleged victims. So she felt that they had a real story to share and she wasn't about to be the only one talking about him. And to answer Jeffree's question of why did people believe it? Well, because of that screenshot from James's video in 2019. In his No More Lies video, he has that screenshot where it says that people are getting on camera and they're talking about James. And it really added up with what Tati was saying when she talked about Jeffree and Shane filming for their documentary and wanting to expose James Charles. So people believed her because Jeffree clearly texted James saying that they were filming.
All I knew at the time was that Shane Dawson was the most adored documentary filmmaker on YouTube. So I invited him over to my home to play with makeup and to get to know him. He also shared that Jeffree had wanted me to have a small role in their docu-series. But the entire series was quickly changing because there was something horrible happening in our community with James Charles. He said that James Charles was a monster with many victims. The day the video went up, Shane requested to come over to my home and film and document what was happening. I declined. After a few days of Jeffree fanning the flames on Twitter, no victims appeared as they had stated would happen, and no evidence came forward as they stated would happen. The last time I spoke with either Jeffree or Shane on the phone was the night before Jeffree's "Never Doing This Again" video.
Jeffree later gets into the Trisha situation, saying people are really upset about this one part where he said at the heart there was really no drama, just speculation.
So people right now on TikTok are real mad, and people on YouTube are real mad about this part. I'll explain after. And just a lot of ugliness. But we had the best times together. I rewatched some of our old clips. Oh my God. So basically what I'm saying is that when Trisha was mad about me and made her whole video crying and did her whole spiraling thing 5 years ago, no one really knew that, like, I wasn't really a part of it. She was really mad at my hairdresser. She was mad at everybody involved, and she was going through a lot. And baby, me and her never had a real fight. So that's what I meant by that. And I think people are misinterpreting it, which is totally fine. But me and her never had a really big fight. And I think people thought they knew what happened on our Vegas trip, but they weren't there. I am. Yes, of course he stole my hairdresser. They've worked it out, sweetie, okay? People can move on. They're allowed to.
Well, we all know there was drama between him and Trisha. Literally, she said she was scared of him in the title of one of her videos. And Trisha talked about Jeffree specifically being a mean girl on Frenemies, saying that he wasn't even nice to his employees and that Vegas trip that they went on together was awful.
That trip was like awful, like from beginning to start, like just awful. And they were just awful. And I was just like, you know, and to me, like, I always thought I was hard on Jeffree because, like, that is a cross example of someone who is just bullied and everyone, like, he always talks about how people call him the F word and all that stuff. He's like, oh, look at me now, like, well, you know, all that stuff like that, because I think he, like, was bullied so hard. But, like, at the same, because that's what it feels like. And they bully Jay. So I think that's where Jay's coming from.
Really?
Because,
they do?
Oh, he would tell him to, like, move seats, sit in the back. Like, I remember one time he had Boomcack, like, fish out a french fry in his car. He's like, while we went in to eat, he's like, go look for that french fry I dropped. Like, just, like, really nasty I hope he overpays them. I hope he get paid a lot. But here's the thing.
Jeffree is
I don't need
a disgusting
anybody.
monster,
I didn't want to. It was awful. It was.
Ew, what a psycho.
Well, it's just like Mean Girl. And like I said, do I think like people should stop buying his makeup? I'm like, I don't know. He's just not a good person to me.
But here Jeffree was saying it was never between him and Trisha. Like, sure. Right. But at the end of his live, he wanted to say a few words about Morphe as well. So he wasn't just talking about Trisha. He wasn't just talking about Dramageddon. He was also reacting to what he said about Morphe, adding a little bit more to this, saying that he mentioned how they still owe him money. And he went on to say his true feelings on the company.
Morphe Cosmetics owes me $1.6 million still, and I'll never get it because the court granted them bankruptcy. So all of their previous debts are now irrelevant. So I will never get my money, and I hate Morphe forever. How about that? So because they were granted bankruptcy, you can't sue them. Isn't that awful? Trust me, you guys. You don't think I would have already fought tooth and nail in a damn court for my money? So my amazing collab that I created that was in Ulta that made them so much money, I got big payments from them, right? So let me say, like, when we're talking about money, I made a lot of money from Morphe. It was a beautiful partnership. It really was. And then the new CEO came in and said, oh gosh, and got all scared and weird and didn't even have a conversation with me. And he pulled the plug on the brand. Morphe and I were so close. I was about 35%, my brand, JeffreeStar Cosmetics, was 35% of their entire sales. And then we did a collab and it was phenomenal. It did so well. And the final balance of 1.6 million, I'll never get from them.
He said he was comfortable talking about all this drama, especially Dramageddon with Tana and Trisha when he went on her podcast, because it was them. But any other time, it was probably just overdone and he wouldn't have gone there, but he felt comfortable discussing all of this stuff with them. And I really wonder if Trisha is still planning to post her interview with Jeffree, since Tana and Brooke did take a lot of backlash for their interview with him. And obviously there's been drama with what Jeffree has said. And I'm very interested to see how Jeffree was with Trisha, because if he is sitting on this podcast saying that there was no drama between them, like how was it when they actually got together? I am wanting to know, but I guess we'll just have to see if that episode does come out. Let me know your thoughts, you guys, on what Jeffree had to say when he was reacting to the podcast on live. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.